Hi, I'm Zoe Caputa. I'm just going to talk about my experience in AP Studio Art this year. So, coming into the class, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it was going to be hard, and it was hard, but it was also worth it. And I was excited to draw and be back into an actual art class where I could be surrounded by other people that also wanted to do art like I did, because the year before I was in an independent study where I was kind of just doing art by myself in the art room. So I didn't really get as many people's opinions on my art or get to see other people's art and learn from their own. So that was what I was excited for. But starting the class, I for some reason thought my concentration was going to be food. I don't know why I had this idea, and it probably wasn't the best idea. Um, I I drew pieces in the beginning relating to food, and they turned out well. And I think if I had kept going with it, it would have been a valid concentration. But I found myself being kind of bored with it and not really feeling a connection with it and not wanting to draw food anymore. So I started to just experiment with other ideas. I liked I liked the focus of people because I liked how complex they were and how um, they could show so much expression. For a while, I tried to focus on um, kind of isolation and people being by themselves and what this meant. Um, but it was difficult and it was frustrating for me to find it. I was overthinking my ideas. I couldn't find, a simple this is what I want to draw type idea. And I think the tipping point for me was midterms. We all had to analyze both of one of our own pieces and someone else's pieces, either like a well-known artist or a friend in one of my classes. And I know one of my friends in the other AP art class analyzed one of my own artwork pieces. It was a picture of an alley I took while in France, and it was done on this palette I found in my room with some old paints. I don't even know what type they were, and it was really kind of distorted and blurry. I remember one of my friends, the first time they saw it, they thought it was literally like a palette I used to paint on, or like mixed colors together. But she talked about how I drew it because it reminded me of France, and the distortion of the piece kind of represented the distortion of my memory, and how it's fading and I'm trying to keep a connection with it, and that's why I drew it. And that's when I started to think about the ideas of nostalgia and what memories kind of represent to us. And I realized that I really liked having that personal connection to my artwork. And I kind of looked back into the beginning of the year and saw that I've been doing this all along. Like, Miss G would always get so frustrated with me when I'd use really blurry pictures that I'd take, from my phone, from a video on my phone. I'd screenshot it and I tried to use it to draw. But those were the pictures that reminded me of my past feelings and my past experiences. And I hated taking, posed shots in the art room. I wanted something that I could connect with and I could relate with. Um, and I think it specifically turned to portraiture because, again, there's something ambiguous about a person's face and that you're never going to fully understand what's, going on in there. And that my memories and feelings relating to the piece are just as valid as the viewers or anyone else's who looks at it. Um, so this kind of all fell into place after midterms, and I just kind of after that went through the process and kept exploring the idea. And I remember one night I watched this video. I was looking for research for an English project, and I found this video on YouTube. I think it was Stephen Greenblatt, and he's like a literary criticist, and he was talking about, is art universal? And he was talking about writing, obviously, but I kind of brought this into, my own art and painting and drawing. And I remember watching the video and just thinking, this is my concentration, like this is what is in my mind when I draw. And he said that no, art is not universal because we all live life with our own experiences. We're never, and everything we see and everything that we experience, we're going to look at through our past ones and our past memories and our past point of view. So when I look at a picture, I'm going to see something completely different than literally anyone else who sees that same picture. And so he said that though doesn't mean that art can't be used to connect us, because when you look at someone else's artwork, someone else's writing, and you can see your own life in it, you're first of all examine your own life and your own memories and how you see what you see, and you're also forced to examine, why do I see this in this possibly random person's artwork or random person's writing? Why do I connect to this? Even though I didn't write this, I had completely different experiences than this person, and it forces you to connect to others and be able to find similarities even if you're not the exact same and even if you don't see something in the exact same way. And that's what I wanted my artwork to do, I think. I wanted to be able to see myself in it, but I also wanted other people to see themselves in my artwork, regardless of if it's a person that I know. I want somebody to look at my artwork and be like, oh, that reminds me of some specific moment of my own life, or that makes me feel sad or happy. That's what I wanted, because I wanted to be able to form connections between myself and others, or maybe I just wanted people to look at themselves and be able to find that nostalgia, or maybe look at a memory they didn't want to look at and have to analyze who they are. So when it comes to artists that I think inspired me, the two that really stick out are Alice Neel and Cindy Sherman, and they both do portraiture. Cindy Sherman's actually a photographer, but I liked, first of all, both their use of color, because I think the color really creates a mood in a piece of artwork, and especially for me, I wanted my artwork to just go beyond the face in the picture. I wanted it to show an emotion, and color was so important for me in doing that. And also, what inspired me about their artwork was that the people they photographed or drew was just, they had such ambiguous expressions. Like, I could look at it and interpret it in a completely different way than they saw it or they wanted me to interpret. And that was what made it so beautiful to me, is that I could talk about my friend with this artwork and they could see it in a complete different way. So, specifically, this piece by Alice Neel, that hopefully is showing on the screen right now, inspired this piece of my own. And I really loved in this piece Neel's, first of all, use of color, and again that ambiguous look on the figure's face, because you can tell that the figure in the drawing is looking at something, but you can't especially exactly tell how she's feeling. There's no exact sentimentality to it. It's definitely open for interpretation, what should be thought of when somebody sees that piece. And that's what I wanted to kind of recreate in this piece of my brother. For me, this piece, it represented my brother kind of looking down to help me. He was my big brother, so obviously he's going to help me and going to look down at me and see me as a little sister. But to others, maybe he's looking down in a sort of deceitful type way, or defeat almost. it almost always is determined by who you are and your past experiences. And I think I didn't specifically like how this turned out when it came to other elements of it, but I think it shows what my goal was in my concentration extremely well, and that it's so ambiguous and so open for interpretation. And along with this portrait by Cindy Sherman likewise showed the same thing. This inspired a piece I did of my friend, which again is hopefully showing on the screen right now. And you can see that the color schemes are kind of similar, and that both have a figure lying on the ground. And again, what I loved about this was that the mood created was so unclear and so dependent on who you are. I've had people tell me this piece looks like the girl in the photo, or the girl in the drawing was murdered and is lying in a pond dead. And I've had others be like, oh, this picture has the same colors as Van Gogh's Water Lilies. She looks so calm and peaceful and almost asleep. And that's what's so amazing, because my artwork, it almost doesn't matter what I wanted to happen, because what really matters is what other people saw and how other people explained what they saw, because that lets me learn about those people and about how people can see different things so differently. When it comes to medium, I think again it kind of returns to the piece my friend analyzed for midterms. In that piece, again, she talked about how distorted and how blurry the photo kind of looked. So again, that's something I've really enjoyed doing. It's kind of, leaving strokes of color, not making it clear and blended correctly at all times. So the mediums I really enjoy using are acrylic, pastels. Sometimes I didn't use oil pastel as much, but I enjoy it because, again, you can just kind of get blocks of color and kind of layer on the color. And towards the end of the year, I started using gouache. And I wasn't the most experienced in this medium, but I really enjoyed it because it had so many vibrant colors, and you could just layer it and so well and get so many mixtures of colors, and it just looked so beautiful. There's one specific photo I drew of my friend, which I'm probably showing right now, and it reminded me of summer and just of happy times. And I think the colors really created the mood. And again, that I enjoy this because I want people to look at it and see their own lives and see beyond that girl that I drew and see different things about themselves and past memories, and maybe their child or their childhood, or just some aspect of themselves that maybe they can tell me about, or maybe they can just look at and see differently now that they've grown and become a different person. And that's what I want people to get out of my art. In some ways I'm letting people know who I am through my art, but I think more than that, I want people to understand who they are and examine their own past experiences and their own emotions and grow from that. I want my art to let others grow because, it is letting me grow as well. And that, I learned that all in AP. AP taught me to put meaning to my artwork and, discover what art was and what art is to me and how I can use art to know who I am and to know who those around me are. Along with that, AP it surrounded me with people that saw art differently and that made different art from myself, and that let me see how broad and how amazing art could be, and how and how different people can see it and make art in completely different ways and it always be beautiful. So my advice to anyone considering AP is definitely take it regardless of your level or the depth that you think your art holds, because the important thing about art isn't your technical skills or how you begin, but it's just how much you try and how much you want to succeed and how much you want to discover about yourself. Because, if you take AP, you're going to learn the technical skills and you're going to improve in that way, but your art's going to reflect who you are. So, obviously, by taking the class, you're going to discover who you are and you're going to become more confident in showing yourself to the world and being able to learn.